because she felt she couldn't do enough damage when he was being a shithead, would often use a cast iron pan to smack him across the head with, once splitting him completely open across the skull. Event happening. There was a Aboriginal woman who had hung herself in her apartment from her using the sheets of the shower going into this situation. So that was stopped. And then as soon as they got to the halfway house, there was, of course, people in certain gangs that wore certain colors. And right away, there was somebody brought in that had those colors on, and they had to report it right away to mentions. Like, there's a good chance, and we don't know for sure, that they were sent there with the intent to take them out.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be? I had this discussion with my wife the other day.
Right, so I've taken this outside and I'm going to be whispering during this. Because this conversation was very difficult to have during the conversation. Bobby was very open about his private life, about the struggles he's been through, and the accusations that happened against his family in the past. So I need you guys to sit back, relax. There are very deep conversations that happen, but these conversations need to happen for us to talk more. Enjoy.
Hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode. We are back again talking all things men's health. Yes, we have a different background this time and less internet struggles, as you will probably see what happened last week. But if you didn't see last week, it was the most open conversation I had with my brother. But in today's episode, we have got a very, very, very good friend of mine, someone who I talk to probably
Daily.
more, yes. And sometimes I wish I talked to him more than my wife, because he actually gives me love. I'm joking, by the way. My wife is...
You're in trouble now, mate.
I know for a fact my wife is actually watching these videos compared to the others. So
you're done. You're done.
Yeah,
You're done.
I'm already in the doghouse with this one.
Yeah.
No, it very much so. Me and Bobby have been very good friends for a number of years now. We've worked together. We talk daily about life. If there's anything going on in each other's lives, we always be open and honest with each other. We did a series on our local establishment called Mark Interviews, and I went round to each member of the people that, well, majority of them, I think around about 90% of the people that worked on that channel, I went round and interviewed, and we had, so the reason why I started this channel was partly because of Bobby. We were having a conversation off stream 3-4 weeks, months ago, and then I come away from that and I went, that's the most refreshing I felt in a long time. I actually felt relaxed, and I felt that's what's been missing in my life. So I decided that it was a lot of convincing myself. Not a lot of convincing, I wanted to do it. But it was very much of a conversation that happened behind the scenes where I was like, do I do this, do I not? And Bobby went, do it. And I went, okay, I've done it. And then it was very much all the design from the logo to everything was literally done through Bobby as well. Went through him to get what he thought of it. But we are here today because... we both agree, I think, that not enough men talk and not enough men have conversations. This doesn't exclude, by the way, this doesn't exclude women or anyone else. This is very much an open conversation with anybody. In a few weeks' time, I have the first woman coming onto the channel. Very good friend of ours. She will be coming on. Absolutely brilliant mindset that she has, and she will be coming on a few weeks' time. So it is just for everybody from that. But Bobby, the first question I have for you, welcome. Hope you're okay.
Thank you.
Mate.
Yeah.
We're not going to fuck around. Also, you can swear. My channel, my rules. So the question I asked you, I'm going to ask the same question to every guest to start off with, and it's a question that I've taken from a channel with Pete Wicks, and he uses this conversation starter to start with. So I'm going to do it with you. What makes a good man?
That's a hell of a question, actually.
It is.
To me, especially at the age I'm at now, and looking back on things, you can always start down a wrong path and everything like that, and change that into what would make. And I want to say a good person, because this applies on both sides of the fence. I think that anybody who has compassion, care for all people, doesn't matter what, about race, gender, sexual orientation, anything like that, all those things. I think what makes a good person is compassion for other human beings, and a drive to want to see a better world for those young ones coming up into this world.
Okay, let's piggyback off that question and ask you even more a difficult question from that. What makes you a good man?
Who said I was?
I did.
I have learned more compassion over the last several years than I had prior to that, I guess would be the best way to say it. I think there was a lot more, I've gone through times of having a bit of a chip on my shoulder, or being egotistical. I've gone through rough times where, I blamed the world and all this kind of stuff. It's how you come out the other end of it sometimes too. I mean, some people are just, they're naturally compassionate people. They're going to be that way their whole lives, and they're wonderful human beings to begin with. Some of us, we go through stages to get to there. And once you get to there, like I'd say myself, I there's good days and bad days, but I'd say more times I try to listen and understand people's their feelings and their ways of looking at life and stuff like that, and I try to learn from that. I try to take those experiences and learn, because I haven't had everybody else's experiences. I can attest to the things I've gone through and the things I've faced, but they're nowhere near the level of things that other people who aren't me have gone through. And sometimes it's just a matter of listening and understanding how to also be able to have our lives intertwine and show compassion for one another and understanding for what each have gone through.
So there was a part in that where you said you have your good days and your bad days. Let's talk about those. Let's talk about those bad days to start with, shall we?
All
We'll
right.
get to the. I do. Right, viewers at home. This is a very, not a dark channel, but this is a very open. So we all talk about the struggles that we've had. We always talk about. I will always give examples as well. I will not ever make sure that the guest that we're on is the only one going through it. I always make sure that there's both of us. There is hard conversations that will happen. There are tough conversations that need to happen. Apart from my hair that's gone out of my bun, and it's really irritating me. Apart from that, but we will have tough conversations. If it's something, I think you need to put this on in the background. Do something. Do some cleaning. If you don't want to sit and watch it, do some cleaning. Turn the volume up and just listen. You don't have to concentrate. Just listen. It might help you. That's why we have these conversations. Just listen to us in the background. Let's get on with this one then. You said your bad days. What age were you when you realised about your mental health struggles? What was it that made you first go, "Oh, something's not right, or something needs to change"?
I think I hid it well and disguised it well for a long time. I think more other people said about it existed when I tried to deny it for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
I had therapists that were brought before me that wanted to talk to me further, and I pushed away, didn't want to do it, wasn't going to do it. I was prescribed antidepressants at times, and I've said to hell with those things and thrown them in the trash and said I'm not accepting any of this. I would say more like logically notable knowing that it existed is probably more around 2018. That's when I think I hit that wall to a point where I couldn't hide it anymore at all. And it came to the surface in a way that I had to finally take note of it and accept it and start to try to understand it.
Do you want to explain the time of when that happened? Is it still something you struggle with talking with that
Oh, in
time?
2018. No. I think 2018 was just the accumulation of all the years of my life up until that point.
So it
catching
was
up
just
to me.
like for me, I said this on the show last week, was I was going through a lot of things were happening personally. I bottled all of it up. I then got really ill, left my job, and as soon as I left my job, just the world just Sam shut on me, and then just shit opened. It's like a Pandora's box that opened for me at that time, where it all was. That the same type of thing for you?
Yeah, generally speaking, again, it's like there's no one particular event around that time frame or anything like that. I think it's an accumulation from right from childhood through to adulthood, the accumulation of everything that, I always found alternative ways to hide and disguise and stuff like that, mask it, so to speak, for so long that it catches up on you. If you don't address it early, you're not gonna be able to deal with it properly until it gets to a point where it becomes a lot more, I would say, frightening, because when you don't understand it and you don't address it and it does start to come out, it's really hard to handle. It really is. It becomes a very difficult thing. And anybody who can attest to this, when you start having like a panic attack or something, it feels like there's times when it feels like the walls are closing in, your heart rate goes up. And especially as an adult and everything, you start wondering, like, is my heart doing this because I'm having a heart attack? And, like, your heart goes in, you're starting to sweat, and you're feeling all the symptoms that they say to watch out for in terms of having a heart attack, and these start to happen. So of course then extra panic sinks in at that point in time, like, oh shit, I'm gonna die, and you want to deal with it right away. But it's understanding that you still are going to be okay. This isn't a heart attack. And the way you can tell the difference, if your heart is pumping a mile a minute, it's working. And that's not what a heart attack will feel like. That is the difference between what a heart attack will feel like and what an anxiety attack or a panic attack will feel like. Is you check that pulse, and what you do is you grab, anyone who doesn't know, you grab your wrist and you get your two fingers down on there, and you'll be able to feel that beat. And you can then start to tell how many beats per minute or whatever that you're getting. Count your beats per minute on your heart. If it's fast, it's fast. That means you got to find a way to calm down. You got to find that center. You got to bring yourself back into it to bring that down. It doesn't mean you're in trouble with your heart. It just means that your heart is in panic mode. It's in survival mode. It's like running a race. You've put your heart into a race, and now you need to bring it back down, cool it down, do the best you can. That's what I would say triggered in 2018. It's just an accumulation of everything. And I mean, I'm sure the questions will come up, but I mean, we can go right back to early childhood, as early as like even the start of my start of life for me and stuff like that too is, yeah, we'll get there anyway. But that's what I would say.
If you want to get into it now, there is no pattern with this whatsoever. We want to get into a conversation. We get into it now. Let's get into it now.
Sure. And I mean, feel free to cut in with questions at any point in time too, if you have them.
So we know that when we've done the series before on OLE, if you've watched that before, there was an issue with your dad, if I was correct, that happened when you were younger. Explain it to the viewers here as much as you would like to, of what happened, but basically, I don't want a hone in on that. I want you to explain how you felt during that time, but then I want you to then explain as well how you feel about it looking back on it now. So I'll hand it over to you, and I'll cut you in if I need to, but I'm going to hand it over to you and let you get on and talk about this.
Okay, and I'll start by saying that, to paint the picture to get to where we're talking about there, is that, of course, from talking to me, and maybe some of your viewers don't, is that I come from an English family. Mom was actually born in Canada in Nova Scotia, but her family moved to England at a very young age, so that's why she had dual citizenship from that. And then the old man was directly from England. He was from Southampton. She was from Pompey. Great combination, right? So when the old man was a Bobby in England, for those who aren't English, that's a police officer. So he was then looking for work in Canada because whatever reasoning he had for needing to get away from it or not enough work in that particular area for them. So looking within Canada, immediately got hired by the Calgary Police Force in Alberta, Canada. So we moved to there. That's where I ended up being born. So they were pregnant with me. They moved to Calgary. I was born in Calgary. And shortly after I was born, because of the process of getting citizenship, they had to send my old man back to England. So for the first beginning parts of my life, it was my mom and I growing up in a trailer in Calgary, Alberta, with him back home in England, barely scraping away, kind of like just basically being able to make it by until he was able to finally come back, full Canadian citizen. And by the time he returned back, the Calgary Police Force ran out of work too. They didn't want this many police officers on the force. So now we were in Calgary, him finally being Canadian citizen, and no work for him. So that was when the transition from Calgary to Saskatoon happened. Anybody who doesn't know the lay of the land, it's a province over. It's about an 8-hour drive by car to get between Calgary and Saskatoon, 7 if you're lucky.
If you're from England, that's driving from here to Scotland, to nearly to the top end of Scotland. It takes 6 hours from the south, shall we say, London area up to Newcastle, and you're going above that another 2 hours. So that's how big of a difference that is from the UK wise to Canada. Carry on, sorry.
Fair enough. No. So we were in Saskatoon, got a job as a police officer here in Saskatoon at the time. And we were living in an apartment building. I'm going based on stories here. Like my recollection more comes in a little bit later for what I actually remember. But in that apartment building, I had a best friend. I've also been told that I also experienced my first bit of loss at this point in time because my best friend one day ran out into the middle of the road, was struck by a driver who did a hit and run, and he did not make it. So that was the experience I had there. We then moved away from the apartments due to that experience. We moved to another place, just kind of a little bit further, not still within Saskatoon, but further away from that particular area of Saskatoon. That was where we had our first house. My brother would have come along after when I was 2. That's when my brother came along into our lives, and we were there. Things were decent enough anyway, but the area that I lived in too then became the focal point of a bit of a media scandal for a while and stuff like that too, because there was a bunch of children that went to a daycare in this area that then started to say that they were experiencing the people at the daycare there doing things like assaulting them sexually and stuff like that. And it became a very big media scandal where at the age I was at that point, of course, your belief is, well, I know all these people. I know all the kids around here and stuff like that. You didn't necessarily know who had said it or who it had been done to, but you were aware that it's like, okay, well, those could be my friends. Like, damn it, like how horrible and stuff like that. And I couldn't understand at the time that my old man, there was all this support posters that were put out, like support the children, believe the children, all this kind of stuff. And the old man and my mom wouldn't put one out. And I didn't understand it at the time. And it wasn't until later in life that I fully understood why they didn't jump the gun to put those in the yard and put it, not saying that you shouldn't believe or trust that something could have happened. But at the same time, their reasoning became, it's a lot of people that were brought into the accusations that were nowhere near involved with them. And it was a bunch of BS when it came to most of them. In fact, in the end, only one person was actually criminally charged in the entire thing, despite there being maybe 11 plus people accused in it, including one person in particular that I was friends with his daughter at the time. And there was nothing, never, ever. Like the fact that people like that were getting accused, that's where their point was. Like you don't want to jump the gun and make people believe that someone's done something before all the evidence is presented. If they go to a court of law and there's enough evidence presented and they are criminally charged with it, yes, it's you can say without a shadow of doubt, a jury decided that was enough evidence to say they should be criminally charged. So I didn't understand it at the time. I understood it later in time. I also then started to have my hatred for regular standard media, and people are, I always hear these comments made by idiot politicians and stuff like that about fake news, and then it makes it look bad because of my stance when it comes to the news, because I do know a lot of news is fake. It's very fake, people. And let me paint the picture for you. Here we are in elementary school, and during this time of these accusations happening and stuff like that, they would send the news down to our school. And as the news van would pull up and the cameras came out, most of us, a vast majority, I'd say good 95% of the kids there are jumping up and down like, hello, put me on TV. Hi, I'm on TV. Like happy, showing a happy picture of what's happening. They would not film this. They would then go and find specific kids on the playground and ask them to do things like go sit on the swing set and look like you're sad while looking at your feet swinging slowly back and forth. They manipulated the way it was designed in order to sell the fear factor on the news. And I witnessed that as a young child to the point where I started going, wait a second, what? Like, why is the news not telling the truth? And that's where I started to question it. So I've seen that side of it, and then I've seen more than that side of it. It goes further than that, but that whole thing went by. We kept growing up. You could attest to this, Mark. You grow up in an English family. English men are stubborn AF.
Yeah.
And my old man was no different. And while I don't always, like him necessarily, there are things that I had to try to understand. He grew up in a rough part of Southampton. When he was growing up, he was probably beaten up on a daily basis by the skinheads of the area at the time and stuff, because if you weren't a skinhead, you were lucky to make it home alive. He had his brothers and sisters that were incredibly older than him, would beat the living daylights out of him, especially his sisters, who would frequently kick him down a flight of stairs. His mom, who was a little person, not a little person, but very, very small lady in structure, pretty borderline little person, because she felt she couldn't do enough damage when he was being a shithead, would often use a cast iron pan to smack him across the head with, once splitting him completely open across the skull, and stuff like that. These were the things. It's like, and then that becomes the mentality of that age group that was normal. And for them to switch that mentality to, I have to not, do these things to my kids. And like when it comes into, we'll talk about it in a minute here, but when it comes to some of the methods that he had for us as kids, it kind of like it's a newer version, a better version of that. It's still not the right version either.
So the question I have for you is, we're about to get into what happened in a couple of seconds' time. But before we get into that, I want to ask you one question. When you look back on the way that you just explained what your father went through, and we're talking about 70s, 60s, 70s, probably.
Around the
60s, 70s, where the whole mentality was completely and utterly reversed of what it is now. If you look back on it now, do you have any sort of... Is there some part of you that goes, I understand? Or is there some part of you that goes, yeah, we'll get into what he's about to do. I want you to think about that question as you're answering what went on, because I want you to hear. I want to hear what you think at the end. But is there a part of you that goes, I get it to a certain extent, but at the same time, let the people understand why I asked that question. Let them know exactly what went down.
Yeah. So I mean, and ideally, again, like when you grow up with that kind of stuff, you're going to be faced with times where it's like, okay, you're gonna have to sit there and look and like be like, okay, it's affected their mental health as well too, right? And not saying that it's right. And again, there's better ways to deal with it, but again, the lack of knowledge or the way that they were taught, like it was not okay to be not okay, right? As we say these days. And a lot of that mentality carried over. It's like you had to be a man, you had to be a man's man, right? Like you had to work on cars and you had to do this, you had to do men's work, right? Like it was always that type of mentality that existed that carried over, and like some of that chauvinistic type stuff did carry over into my old man and the way he acted and stuff as well, which often reflected on like what we've learned growing up. It's like he would say certain things and it's like you try to take your parents' word as gospel until you get enough knowledge of your own to ever question what they say and do, kind of thing. To get into the story that, you know, we alluded to originally. So it would have been around 2000, 2001. No, it would have been about 99, 2000, that area. I've tried to remember the exact timeline. I graduated in 01. So it was I was about grade 10, 2 years off of being graduated. So we found out that my old man had been accused, or at least someone had been accused, of taking an Aboriginal man and dropping him on the outskirts of Saskatoon in the middle of winter, and that the idea was that they had done it with the intent that he would freeze to death, because they had found some bodies in Saskatoon on the outskirts of the Aboriginal people that had frozen to death, and now there was this hunt to believe that the police were doing this. And again, I'm not going to get into saying that the whole thing that happened, Starlight Tours as they're called out here, I know that they existed. I know that it has happened, and I'm not here debating that side of it, whether it did. Okay. All I can say is what the stories they told versus the stories my old man told were. I wasn't there. I can't even say who's right, who's wrong, or, you know, if it's somewhere in the middle kind of thing. All I know is that an Aboriginal man came in accusing a car in particular. He said the wrong car number, and they brought two young police officers new to the force in and said that they had done it. And he even pinpointed them, said, yep, that's the two guys for sure, 100%. My old man and his partner caught wind of it and said, no, that's not the right guys. He's got it wrong. They went down and confessed that it was them that had dealt with him that night. The story they tell or whatever is they had picked him up because he was being a bit of a jerk. That's pretty much the whole reasoning. He was swearing and yelling at them because he said that his friend had been in a fight at a party and the police were nowhere to be seen, sort of thing. So they picked him up. They were going to take him in. He kept saying he was sorry. I apologize, guys. I don't want to get taken in. He goes, I was just mad and everything. And he said, I lived at this particular village or whatever, this apartment block. He goes, it's like 5 minutes over there. And it's from where they were. It was 5 minutes away, kind of thing. It's about minus 19 Celsius here. He was wearing winter stuff enough that they were like, okay, look, we don't want to have to come back and deal with you for doing something else stupid tonight. So if you go walk straight there, 5 minutes away, go home, sleep this off. We don't want to see you again tonight. Go for it, kind of thing. We get it. So they let him go. Now, again, this is where it's like, this is that they said versus what was said. Now, he says they actually dropped him off in a completely different location. Now, what they're saying is that they say they dropped him there. They're saying he walked from there to what is known as the Queen Elizabeth Power Station here in Saskatoon. That is a 20-minute walk versus a 5-minute walk from where they were. He then proceeded to hammer on the door of the QE Power Station until he got the security guard on hand to come out and see him. The security guard even admitted in court that he was dressed for the weather. So there was no concern over him freezing in this situation. A week after was when he made the accusation, when he got arrested for something. He got pulled over by a police officer for something else, and to try to avoid getting taken in, he then said that he had been accosted by two police officers a week ago who tried to make him freeze to death, just like all the bodies they had found in Saskatoon recently. So that's what kickstarted this whole thing. Now, because of the situation and because of the way Saskatoon was, it became a very political thing. Like the names, his picture, everything was in the newspaper, the local newspaper, the national newspaper. There was news being picked up across America. There was people getting their opinions in on this. This was a big deal, a very big deal. It got to the point where, because he was suspended without pay, at home, all this kind of stuff, there was, and this is no word of a lie, there was a white van that would constantly sit across the street watching us and everything. Just like you see in the movies when they jokingly have the FBI, but it's Flowers by Irene or whatever they cover it up with. That was the situation. We actually legitimately had a white van across the street to keep an eye on his activity. We also had our phones tapped. So anybody who doesn't know, when you pick up a phone that's been tapped, there's a click as if somebody else is picking up the other side of the line. They listen to every conversation we had during that period of time. If I wanted to speak to somebody on the phone, I either had to be extremely careful about what I was talking about, or I had to say, hey, let's go hang out and meet up somewhere where out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, just to be able to be a semi-normal teenager at the time.
How was, we'll get into more about what happened in a little bit longer, but let's talk about you now. So this is all going on. This is national news. This is slightly international, North American news, shall we put it that way? What is a young Bobby thinking at this time?
Young Bobby at that time was hating the world. I really was. I was like, why? Why is this happening? Why do we have to put up with this crap? Like, why are they doing this? Like, maybe I didn't always see eye to eye with my old man or get along with him and stuff, but I'm like, it's not like he's killed someone. Again, like, if he did actually do it, and he's been lying this whole time, and he's been doing an amazing job of lying it for all these years about the actual truth behind the story, then he got what he deserved. However, it's like people don't think about the repercussions it has on family and what it does to the other people involved and stuff like that. Suspending him without pay. So now we're scraping by with no income and a 5-person household for a while. That would go in and out at times, depending on how they were feeling and how they wanted to appease the courts and stuff. It was a long process to get to the actual court dates. Now, by the time we got to the actual court time, I had graduated high school and I was working my first full-time job. At the time, my first full-time job was actually located 1 block away from the courthouse, to the point where if I walked outside, I could see the front of the courthouse. So on more than one occasion, I walk out to go home or go for lunch, and there's the media circus surrounding him and his partner, walking in and out of the courthouse and stuff like that. So I'm seeing it happen, as it's happening, sort of deal. The finger was on the pulse from the get-go. They wanted to get a conviction, and they were going to get it no matter what. It didn't matter how good the lawyers did on my dad and his partner's side, how much they brought up that the charge itself was not really ever a charge that existed here in Canada, at least not one that you could be criminally charged for. Just one second.
Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you. So there was a lot of weird politics surrounding it. And then on the day of the conviction, the jury actually came back about 8 or 9 times to ask for the explanation of what unlawful confinement is. Unlawful confinement is unlawfully confining somebody against their will, is the idea and stuff, in what case they would have had to have done a lot worse in order for unlawful confinement to even to existed in this point. Like, there would have had to have been physical bruises and stuff. They claim he had bruises from the handcuffs on him and stuff like that in the courts. That didn't fly very well. He changed his story about 8 times, which my dad's lawyer brought up, and he then claims, well, English isn't my first language or whatever, so I was confused about the questions, which my dad's lawyer then tossed like 4 different written confessions out, and he's like, well, those are all written in English very, very well. In fact, he goes, mind explaining that? Did somebody translate it for you? I mean, it was a lot of things were thrown back. And the other thing that was thrown out, too, in front of the jury was that a week prior to that event happening, there was a Aboriginal woman who had hung herself in her apartment from her using the sheets of the shower curtain. Used the shower curtain and the shower rod to hang herself. My old man was called to the scene, got there in time to not only cut her down, but give her CPR and bring her back to life. Saved her life. A week before, and they're trying to create a case of racism against him for having dealt with this man and saying that he would have asked him to go and freeze and everything. So a week prior, he saved somebody of the exact same nationality from dying, which he could have just left her. He didn't have to go in there. He didn't have to perform CPR or anything like that. If he really was the hate-filled person they were trying to paint a picture for. That was brought up in court, and the judge said, it's not admissible here in my court. He threw it out like it didn't matter, that none of that proved anything in terms of this case. And it's like, again, you're trying to build a case on racism. How can you build a case on racism if the same guy not only has a record of helping people in that community, but that, and has people from that community coming forward to talk about all the wonderful things he did and helped them out. There was people that came forward that said he changed their lives in that community. Like, that community loved him. So more than anything, it was frustrating because, like, even I grew up with that whole knowledge that we loved the Aboriginal people. We absolutely did. We had friends there. So it was wild to see it turn on us.
So what happened with the verdict then? We went through all of this. What happened with the verdict?
Guilty charge, 8 months in prison, served 5, and then did 2 in a halfway house. And anybody who knows what a halfway house is, it's once you get released, you can go to a halfway house early. You get to go there. You're allowed to have a certain amount of leave to go see family from there, but it's a specific time frame, and you're also allowed to do a certain amount of work and start to make money to kind of get yourself back into regular society. There was more than one attempt on his life in this situation. So in prison, there was actually 3 guys that hid in the yard with knives that had caught wind that he was going to be going for a visitation to see my mom. And then if it had not been snitched on, their plan was, as soon as they started the crossing, because from the actual correctional center to the visitation center is a 5-minute walk, you're escorted by a guard. The plan was stab him and the guard to death in the yard. And again, poor guard, right? Like, just doing his daily job, would have lost his damn life had somebody not snitched on these 3 MFers going into this situation. So that was stopped. And then as soon as they got to the halfway house, there was, of course, people in certain gangs that wore certain colors. And right away, there was somebody brought in that had those colors on, and they had to report it right away to mentions. Like, there's a good chance, and we don't know for sure, that they were sent there with the intent to take them out, kind of thing, because that's just the way gang activity works sometimes. So 5 months in prison, 2 months in the halfway house, it changes a human being. I saw changes in his mentality. After that, he was not the same. Him and I could never connect the same after that. And that's, again, when I started to find ways to mask my mental health at that point in time, was in that time frame.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. So you masked it, and this is what probably accommodated in 2018 when you changed things. How's your relationship with your parents now?
Non-existent.
Yeah. Right.
Non-existent, completely unrelated to that, though.
Right, okay. So when you look back on the stuff that happened to your dad when he was younger, and probably stuff that happened to you now, let's talk about you. Then let's move forward and let's talk about you, and let's talk about you opening up. How do you feel now, sitting here in 2025, being able to have this open conversation? Is this something that you thought could never happen? Did you think that this was just, you were just going to ride off into the darkness, shall we call it, because you're not going to go to the sunset? But how do you feel now in 2025, now sitting here and being able to talk about, let's probably say, the darkest time of your life?
It's tough in the sense that I never was accustomed to talking about these things, or, you know, I always got the feeling, I was like, does anybody really want to hear these stories? Like, I don't want to bring other people down sometimes. So it's like, you get that mentality of don't share because I don't want to interfere with somebody else's day, kind of thing. So it is still weird. Don't get me wrong. It's like, I do it more now, but it's still an odd feeling for me. If you would have asked me back then when I was trying to mask things, first of all, I would have told you I didn't have a problem. And then second of all, I would have told you there's not a chance in hell you'll ever see me sitting on a video talking about these things in my life.
So let's talk about your wife. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She's a massive part of your life.
Very much.
I haven't got to meet her yet because you keep hiding her from me. Probably the right thing to do because I'm a knob.
That's just her. That's her choice. For all over.
But she's a very, very much important part of your life. Would you? How long have you two been? Right, not married. How long have you been together for? Here we go. This is see how long. Let's see if you can get yourself into trouble or not.
Well, I mean, we could go even further back. We actually originally met in high school and briefly dated in high school. Yeah, I would have been. I think I was 15, going on 16.
What year? Because this is what women want to know.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man! That's 15 going to. So like, okay, just do the math on when I would have been that age. So if we go
You
to
should know this.
99, 1999
There we
ish. I
go.
think. I'm
You're pro-
pretty sure around then.
He's now going to message her and go, "Was it 99 that
Oh
we
no
first met?"
no! I have one way where I can be certain if I'm right, and I'm just checking it right now. It was 1998 in 1998.
Okay, so if you
1998.
go and watch my last channel, you will see we had a really big conversation about your wife and yourself. But
Mm.
what I want to talk to you now was she the first person, or would you say this is the only? I don't want to say only because there are other people out there for you as well. But is she the main person you are yourself? You are 100% authentic to. You tell her everything. Would you
Mhm.
say was she the first one? Would you say, or what would you say on that end?
To truly know me, yes, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure, 100%, by a long shot kind of thing. It's again when you don't feel comfortable about talking too often, then you find that right person, and then you're able to. So yeah, and I mean we've got such a unique story because like we had lost contact in high school there, and then we both were single, and we had a mutual friend that set us up on a blind date kind of thing. That I got told, oh, you need to go on a date with this person, and vice versa, and we ended up getting to a point where we were chatting in text messages before the official first date, and those text messages are coming through, and the more she kept saying, I'm just like, like this is starting to sound like the same story of the person I knew in high school. I'm like, okay, I was like, I'm gonna put this to a test, and I'm gonna say a specific thing, and depending on what she says, I'm gonna know for sure. And then I'm sitting out for a drink with a buddy at the time. The text comes back, and I look, and I'm like, huh, it definitely is for sure, right? I was like, oh, that's too cool. Like whoever has a story so awesome like that. I mean, it's an incredible story. So we went on a date, and I mean, she puts up with my shit, and we're married this many years later. We 2009 was when we started dating, and yeah, and we got married eventually. But to 2022 we got married. Got to put it off a little bit when things were all shut down and weird and blah blah.
yeah.
Yeah.
So your story is slightly similar to mine and my wife's, where we were talking, and then I got a random message with her saying, "I don't want to speak to you again." And then I was like, "Yeah, that's probably fair enough." At that time, I was a twat. So we didn't speak to each other for about a year. And then she messaged me because I was playing football and I used to go into her dad's pub. And basically, when I say playing football, I turned up to a Sunday league team and I would play about 10 minutes a game, come on as second half sub, and then go and eat all the food. I was really good at eating. And that was her. She used to make the food. And then we just then started talking from there. And that was 10 years ago. This year was 10 years. Fucking, I had to really think this.
I saw
Um,
the wheels were turning there a little
I
bit.
know. So May 11th, 2015 was the first time we officially started dating and going out, and then June the 2nd, I have a plaque up there that tells me the year and the date, that so I can know it. 2024 June the 2nd was when we got married. From that, but let's talk about her. She seems like an incredible woman.
Mhm.
Firstly, putting up with you.
Yep.
I've joked it before
No,
anyone
no, no.
used to.
Trust me. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I
By the
can't put up
way,
with myself most days. So
the funniest thing is when Bobby gets angry at football, I get the DMs, I get the messages, and it makes me piss myself with laughter from that. But let's talk about that. What is it that she does for you? What is it that she does? Because we're going to get into it. We're going on the light side here. We're going to go dark side in a minute. But we're on the light side right now. And let's talk
Mhm.
about her because I want her to watch my video and I want her to know that I want to have a doesn't have to be on screen. I would like to meet you and go, hello, I'm the one who messages Bobby daily. I'm not taking him away from you unless he wants it. Apart from that, That's it. But what is it about your wife? What is the quality? Give me 3 qualities that your wife is to you.
I mean, it's plain and simple. She's my best friend. She listens to me. And when I say like, I mean, putting up with me again, it's more that she understands my little quirks and all those kinds
Yeah.
of things, the things that might annoy other people if they were around me for long periods of time and stuff like that. But with her, she, does she get frustrated with me sometimes? Sure, I can be an absolute horrible person some days to be around, especially if I'm in a mood and everything. But at the end of the day, by the time we get to the nighttime, we sleep in the same bed together, we wake up together, we drive to work together. One thing that a lot of people don't do, we see each other for lunch almost every day during work. We take our lunch breaks together, things like that, like the kind of stuff that people don't think about. Like, you got to take those moments and make them special and stuff, and we make those efforts to keep making it special, despite the fact that we've been together a while and everything. We still try to do it. We get faced with life things all the time and everything, and it's about how we do it as a team. I mean, she's beautiful, she's smart, and she's funny. I love being around her. Absolutely love her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a really weird question. There might be some single men out there, and there could potentially be single men that they look online. And if you look online, we're going to get into certain people in a bit, but if you look online, there are men that will go out there. Don't open your heart to women because they'll use that to throw it back in your face. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I see that in a lot of comments. When people break up with someone, they go, I can't believe I put my whole world into them. That. We have to. According to me. You got to put everything into this woman, into the man, into a woman, into whoever your partner is, for that. If you were talking to other men that are going through a heartbreak right now, what would you say that they need to be looking for in a woman? Now, everyone has their own quirks of what they find attractive in a woman, but I always find that there's qualities. There's certain qualities that you need to find in a partner. And I'll give you an example, okay? Someone, as you said just a second ago, best friend. My wife is my best friend.
Yep.
She deals with me, right? If you've watched my other channels, you know I'm hard to deal. Simple as that. I have a quirk that pisses a lot of people off. Fair enough. You have to be honest. 100% honest. Honesty is the only way to go in life, in my opinion. And I also say as well that you could be stuck in a room with them for 24 hours and you could still find something to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what I find in my wife.
Yep.
She probably doesn't want to be stuck in a room with you 24 hours. That'd be fucking batshit crazy. But what would you say would be the qualities you would say that you would look at a person?
That's exactly where it comes down to, is like, is this somebody that you can spend time with? And I feel incredibly sorry for all those people who are surface level people. If you spend your life basing everything you have on surface levelness, you're never going to find that right person, because you will find any reason to nitpick somebody for their looks or some stupid little quirk and stuff like that your whole entire life. The right person for you is the right person that you can sit down with, have a conversation with, laugh at the same things together. You don't always have to like exactly the same things, but someone who is at least open-minded to some of your stuff, or appreciates you enough that they'll appreciate something that you enjoy doing or will support what you're doing. For example, you and I both, we do this kind of level of work with doing shows and stuff like that. My wife's very supportive of it. Very, very supportive of it. And it doesn't matter if, I've only got 5 people that watched the show. She's very supportive of me doing it because she has seen the growth and she knows how much doing this helps me do good, kind of thing. I'm not, I can't get in trouble when I'm sitting here online. Well, I mean, I could virtually get in trouble, but
I was going to say,
I can't necessarily burn the house down or anything stupid like that. I'm not going to lose a limb
True.
talking online or something. So, I mean, she's very supportive of it, and I love her for that. And that's what it comes down to. Can you spend the time with the person and still enjoy that time?
So let's flip it. There are internet personalities. Sneeko, Andrew Tate, Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, Donald Trump. I don't know much North America type. I know what I see over here in Europe and the UK. They are trying to say that men need to be men. They are saying that men need to go back to the way that it needed to be before. They are, if you've been able to, please go and watch Adolescence on Netflix. Absolutely brilliant prime example of what's happening to young kids. This was a topic of conversation that I had with my brother last week. And basically the topic of conversation last week was, is there a way to combat it? I think that's the right word. I think that's a word. If it's not, made it up. What's going on? Do you think... I'm going to give an example after you've explained, because I want to talk about something else as well. But what do you think of the state that young men, I'm not saying boys, because men are men, and boys as well sometimes, are being influenced by these type of influences? What would you say what needs to happen to stop this? Or do you think it's a good thing that you've got these type of male alpha males in the internet space?
I think that we don't need those types of alpha males in the internet space at all. I think that these are the type of people that are trying to set society back even further. And I will say to anybody who likes them, or is them, or anybody who subscribes to their bullshit, that if their definition of what it takes to be a man is to be racist, bigoted, misogynistic, and homophobic, any of these things, if that's your definition of being a man, then take my man card away and get me away from it, because I don't want to be a man then. Because quite frankly, I'm not the type of person who wants to tolerate that mindset anymore, because I think that mindset has held the world back from its true powerful beauty that exists. We're all connected by the common denominator that we're human beings and stuff like that. You don't really go around the animal kingdom and see the animals pushing away others within their own types. Like, you don't see lions pushing away other lions because they have a different hairstyle. You don't see that shit in the animal kingdom. They love unconditionally their own kind, and as human beings, that's what the mindset needs to become. We need to start loving unconditionally all people, because my whole thing is, if somebody isn't somebody who's causing harm physically or mentally, then why is it that their life choices are such a problem for other people? Why are you so glued on the fact that people choose to be, or not choose to be, but are different from you, that this is so much that it consumes your life, that you need to be someone who spends your life trying to convince others that it's not okay for them to be that way, and it's not okay because you gotta be a macho man. To hell with that. To hell with all of it, you guys. Like, seriously, it's like, you know what makes me a man? It makes me a man because I can sit here and I can talk about these things like this between two guys, because I can sit there and have conversations with people from all different wakes of life. Doesn't matter what race, what sexual orientation, or anything like that. I love learning from all of these different people in life and everything, and finding out their stories and stuff. And that's what makes me a man, because I have a brain enough to sit down and accept and love unconditionally. That's what makes a true man, in my opinion.
Very well put. There is an issue in the world right now where men are being put down in every sense of the word, whether that's by other men, by other women, or by everyone else. So there was a podcast I listened to recently where a woman went on a podcast and said that what's happened is the men were dominating everything. Then what happened was there was a flip. There was an overcorrect, as she put it. There was too much of an overcorrect. where we now gave the women everything, and then we then belittled the men, just like it was the other way around. And what they're saying is, when I was listening to this, was there was so much an overcorrect on things that now boys and men are going to start listening to the alpha males and to those type of people, because they're the ones that are going, look, you're a man, this is how you should do things. Do you think that because the world, I'm not saying, and this is not me saying that women have got too much, not at all. Sometimes I don't think women get enough. But what I'm saying is do you think that there's been so much of an overcorrect that men, young men and boys who are now looking at, and I'm going to talk to this in the UK terms, I don't know about Canada's terms, I do apologise, you can maybe help me on this side, but for the UK, you're looking at Nigel Farage's Reform Party over here, where he's going, men are men, we're going to take back our country is this, we should not be bowing down to any other country, we should be doing this. And you've got boys and you've got men that are looking at that going, fuck yeah, we don't get anything like it used to be for the women. Because if you look at the UK, I'm going to go through some stats about Canada's mental health in a moment. And I've got a graphic to show as well in a second. So, yes, I have presentation, people, for this. But I want to get your opinion. What is your opinion on this? Do you think that there's too much of an overcorrect? Or do you think that it's just people are nitpicking at things? I want to get your opinion.
If there's too much of an overcorrect, it's because they've been held back for so long that in order to, I think, balance, you have to have it go completely the other way. And if it goes completely the other way, in order to be able to get people to start realizing that there can be a balance, then that's what the overcorrect supposedly is. Now, if there's this, like they're saying, causing some guys to start buying into the whole listening to the alpha male role, then that is something that needs to be addressed. And it needs to be addressed in a sense that it's like, you know what? We're still going to get through this all. We can get to a balance. We need to listen. We need to understand. And that, you know, whether it's women's rights or LGBTQ plus rights or racial rights or anything like that, to get to that balance, we need to listen and understand what are the things that we held them back from. And I say we because our gender, our race. And I'm not trying to say everybody, and I'm not trying to say modernly either. I'm trying to generalize in a sense that for a lot of years and a lot of decades and stuff, people, white men, had a way of being dominant, being the alpha males and leading everything in the world. If we want to get to a balance, we need to have that complete restructure so that we can understand how they felt, how they had to deal with it, as Mark hurts himself, and what we can do to better ourselves. How can we get to that balance where things are equal and shared, and they're still not 100%. I mean, we talk about these guys beating their chest and saying men need to be men. Let's just not kid ourselves, guys. Like, there is still a lot of male dominance throughout this world as it is, and everything like that. I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I do blame a lot of that on the way churches are taught and some of the religions out there today that really still push the whole centric that it's, you know, men dominated, and that it's, you know, you must be in a family, and that family must be traditional, mom, dad, kids, this kind of stuff. I think that the mentality of the churches that are basing all of their stuff on logs that came before anybody on this planet ever existed, long before, and those have been, you know, translated to, oh, holy hell. Like, I mean, come on, wake up, people. It's like, this is not the gospel. It isn't the gospel, and things change over the years. That's the way it is. And if you can't accept that, then maybe you're not right for the world moving forward, as the best way to put it. If you're not open to change, then I'm sorry, you're stuck in the past, and you're never going to get out of that method.
So we talked about on this channel last week the statistics about men's mental health, and boys as well. That we said that 95% of youth offenders in the UK are male, spending up most of 95% of the youth jail is male. We also talked about the amount of suicides is number one in the UK for male suicide. So We did that last week, but I thought, why not do a little bit of a research about Canada?
Mhm.
As you're here, I wanted to get your opinion on some of these stats. If you don't mind, I'm going to read some off for you once I decide how to use my fucking tablet properly and not be a dumbass. So, 64% of men report moderate to high stress, up to 4% from April 2024. These are a survey of 2,000 men in the Canadian Men's Health Findings, a survey of 2,000 men of April 2025. 23% of them are at risk of moderate to severe depression, also up 4% year over year, and 50% face social isolation, especially men living alone. 73% aged between 19 and 29, and also 67% have sought professional help for mental health. There's also here as well. We're going to be talking about men of the age between 19 and 29. 49% of them are at risk to severe depression. 57% experience moderate to high anxiety. 30% risk depression. 42% anxiety among gay and bisexual men, 28% risk of depression, 45% of anxiety. Suicide trends, men account for approximately 75% of Canada's 4,000 annual suicide deaths. Suicide is the second leading cause for Canadian men aged between 15 and 30. The support system as well. When you read, and I've also got here, let me just move my tablet because I need to get my mouth. I've also got here a little graphic as well. This is a graphic that come with the mental health that we were talking about. These are the percentages of Canadian men that are talking about the issues in their life and all the risk that they're in. When you look at this and the statistics that you see here in Canada, I want to get your opinion. Is there enough being done in Canada for men's mental health? And when you hear those statistics for yourself, what is your instant reaction?
Not surprised. Whether or not there's enough being done, there's enough outreaches out there and everything like that. The problem is that you're talking about the whole country. It's a big country. Anybody who doesn't know, we're the second largest landmass on the planet for a single country. So it's a long distance from one end to the other and everything. And the geographical differences play a factor in this statistic as well too, because certain areas they're behind the times, like where I'm from in Saskatchewan, it's lesser people, most of which grew up on farms and everything like that. The change in mentality has been slower here than in some more progressive parts like out east in Canada, particularly. The other thing is too is our winters, and this is one where I know a bit about this, so I'm gonna talk about it. So light patterns have an effect on our health, our mental health, our physical health, everything. Lacking sunlight makes for a lack of vitamin D deficiencies in people, I believe, and doing that can also lead to depression. We have a thing, it's very common here, known as seasonal depression. Seasonal depression tends to happen in the winter months where we see a lot less daylight. So, for example, in Saskatchewan here, when it comes to the winter time or early fall going through winter, and it lasts a long time here, that time of year, we are seeing sunrise maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. So usually when you wake up in the morning, it's still pitch black. You go to work, you go in, especially if you work in an office with no windows, you don't see the sun until you go walk out for your lunch break or, whatever. But by the end of the day, you go to leave at the end of the day, you say leave at 4 or 5 o'clock. The sun's either going down or it's all pretty much completely down already. So you rarely see sunlight. You don't get a lot of that. And so it throws off what's known as your circadian rhythm. And your circadian rhythm gets thrown off because it's getting those deficiencies. You can get into that seasonal depression. So a lot of people here, and a lot of people I know too, have what we call happy lights. The happy light is basically a light that you can kind of put on that mimics the amount of light rays that you're supposed to take in to help balance your circadian rhythm and get you back on track. So when I see those statistics, I think the biggest thing is maybe lacking knowledge of it. You talk about the isolation. I can see that too. There's some areas where it's like you get some of the smaller areas in Saskatchewan and there's little to no people in those areas. And sometimes it's an hour, 2 hours to the next center or even to the next town kind of thing. So you imagine these people grow up on farms and stuff like that. They grow up, they don't necessarily meet someone because they're not necessarily someone in their area. They just keep on the family work. They become very isolated. And when you're not around other human beings because you grow up on a farm or in a distance from other people, yeah, I can see that that is very easy to fall into those traps. And as for, again, there is help out here, but you again, you get into those more rural areas and I start to fear for the fact that there's some areas here that have minimal cell phone service. They have minimal or no access to the internet. So in terms of going, well, they could just text somebody or they could call a help. It's not that easy for some of these rural areas. And as for having mental health practitioners in those areas, they're non-existent. You have to come to a Saskatoon or a Regina, Prince Albert, North Battleford, some of our bigger cities here in Saskatchewan to get those. But for some people, that can be a 5-6 hour drive. And they don't have necessarily, like I said, they don't have internet to have the ability to come online and reach out to someone or, cell service where they can just pick up a phone and get onto one of these, 811 chats or something like that if they're going through this. So they tough it out. They try to tough it out anyway until it really catches up and gets the best of them and they can no longer take it. So statistically, I see what's happening being something that's going to continue to happen unless we get to a point in this country where we can get service to all the rural areas and everything like that. These bigger companies have to stop thinking money only and start thinking about how to help out even in the smaller areas where people do exist in this country.
Perfect. Thank you ever so much for that. We always will be giving statistics on this channel and giving graphics as well because we want everyone to visualize and not only visualize here exactly what's been going on as well. We're going to finish on a few final questions here and then we've got a bit of a fun ending. By my previous shenanigans, I do love a quick fire. So we will be going to a top 10 quick fire.
All right.
At the end because I find it fun. Basically, yeah. So, what are you? I want your final thoughts. Okay, we've been talking for about an hour or so about everything that's been going on, and we're going to do this quick fire, and then we'll get into the top 10 as well. Who do you turn to the most when you're going through something?
My wife. 100%.
And then this is a bit of a deep question. It's not a quick one, but what kind of support do you wish you had when you were younger?
I wish I would have had a better, more understanding old man that would have not tried to hold back on these things and tell us that it wasn't manly to, have feelings or be sad or any of these things. He made it very clear that was not okay and you weren't a man if you did that. And he also made it very clear that you weren't a man if you didn't work on cars or do men jobs and stuff like that. The fact that I was someone who enjoyed writing and reading and acting and things like that, it was like, ooh, now he had to start with the hate talk and stuff like that, where it's like, wow, if I find out that you like men, you're out of this house and I'll never talk to you again. That's the kind of shit that I had to deal with and everything. And that's, yeah, not right.
Okay, there was going to be a different question, but I'm going back to this one now. How did that affect you?
How did it affect me? It was mentally destroying. I mean, aside from the fact that he's a fat man that used to call me fat, we'll get that one out of the way. Because nothing like a good old mental beatdown just for the sake of it. He would just, it was torturous what he would do to us mentally and stuff like that. Like, it made me feel weird and unsupported when I would want to do things like acting and stuff like that. For him to sit there and get upset at the fact that I would rather be doing that than helping him do an oil change on a vehicle and everything. And it's like, and he only ever saw things in potential for money. He's like, well, it's okay that you're doing that if you're going to turn it into a career and you're going to go to Hollywood and make millions of dollars kind of thing. And that was the type of thought, but then he would also have to bring it down to reality. But he's like, 1 in 1 billion people ever actually make it, and who's to say you're ever going to have that chance? Like, it was always that had to add that on top of it just to take you down a few extra pegs each time. Not, hey, follow your dream, be better than I was, anything like that. No, it was, you're not going to be much better than I am kind of thing. It was almost like he had to have you held back just enough on a leash so you could never truly succeed.
We have a quick fire, and then with some guests I like to set goals. When you can set goals to me as well. I did it with my brother last week, and then at the end of September or beginning of November time, we come back together, we discuss how we got on with that and the goals that we set ourselves, of how we got on with it, what we feel about what we went on, and we do like a little recap. But we will do that at the end of the episode, just like I did with my brother. But Bobson, see, I mix both names together. Quick fire.
Let's do it.
I love quick fire. Don't know why. Makes people not think. Tea or coffee?
Is this supposed to be single word? Because, I mean, up until a point, it used to be tea, but it's been coffee lately.
Both. All right. One thing that instantly lifts your mood.
Aside from my wife, music.
You're so cute. Last show you binge watched.
Shit. Believe that one would have been, I think it was simultaneous. It was either Ironheart or it was Friends and Your Friends and Neighbors, which stars John Hamm. It's on Apple TV.
I want to see that.
It's really good. It's really good.
That is something that I would. What's your go-to mental reset button?
Probably music. Yeah.
Okay. Dream holiday destination.
Oh, Bora Bora.
Okay. A small habit that's really helped you with your mental health.
This. Like just in general, streaming, being a streamer.
Okay. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? I had this discussion with my wife the other day.
Any superpower, that is fantastic.
I'll tell you mine when you say yours.
I want rabid healing skin like Wolverine has.
That's a good one. I said infinity. I just want to live forever. I don't want to die.
Yeah, I know. I think that has its curses as well as its
it does, but at the same time, I don't die. That's the selfish part of me that just goes, I don't want to know what happens. So yeah, if you no, that's what I've just done. Favorite comfort food after a shit day?
I mean, it's a hamburger of some sort. That's always the comfort food for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck the quick question. When you have a burger, do you have like the bacon, the cheese?
Depends on if I'm lazy or not, kind of thing. Like, I mean, yes, you should. You should. Yeah. Yes. Sometimes I get lazy and the bacon might get left out if there's none around or something. But I mean, not to say it shouldn't be there. It should always be there. But if it's not around, and it's like, oh, I got to go all the way to the store, grab bacon. To hell with it. I'll just have a cheeseburger this time. I guess.
Okay, then. What bacon? Are you going for the English bacon or that American thin shit?
Oh, no. I get like this stuff from the local butcher block usually, and it's like thick cut bacon, and it's like peppered around the rims of it and stuff like that. It's delightful. Either that or I get the thick cut Applewood smoked bacon.
Right, Bobby, stock your fridge. When I'm coming to Canada, you're fucking cooking.
I just cooked burgers last night on the grill. It was fantastic.
I had a burger the other day, but I really want another one. I probably know this answer, so I'm going to caveat this, okay?
Right.
Who would you text or call when you're feeling low that's not your wife?
That's not
because
wife.
I know your wife would be the first one. So if it's not your wife and you had to text or call someone else, who would it be and why would it be me?
Why would it be you? I was actually going to say, like a lot of the times it is people in OLE, yourself and a lot of the others in OLE. Yeah. Otherwise, locally more so, it would be Papa Smokes and Basser, because they are close friends that live in a close proximity. So.
I need to get Papa Smokes on here. That's an interesting conversation I want to have. And the last question I have for you: one piece of advice you would give your younger self about mental health.
It's okay not to be okay, as the saying goes. And when they say, don't, this is your brain on drugs, don't do drugs, motherfucker, this is your brain on drugs, don't do drugs.
Unless it's the Bob Marley party like Bobby likes and you chill out.
Those aren't drugs.
No, they are leaves.
That's right.
So, have you got any questions you would like to ask me? I'm gonna do this now for all before we set the goals. Is there any questions you would like to ask me? Because I feel like I've done all the questions and I don't want it to feel like I'm just throwing shit at you. Is there anything you would like to ask me or anything like that?
I mean, I respect that as well too, but just more so how your mental health is doing as of right now. Like how are you coping these days?
Tough.
Mm-hmm.
As of this recording, actually, you might be the only one who knows this online. Tomorrow is my driving test, and I have waited fucking 15 odd years. I've put it off for so long, and I've got myself into a mental. At one point I was so overconfident that I felt like I was the best driver. Legit thought I was the best driver in the world. I thought that I could put on a racing suit, get into a Formula One car, and I could go faster than them. That's how my brain went. And then I did a mock exam, and I failed it, and then my brain just went rowing down, just absolutely rock bottom to the core. There was nothing in between. And I was very much I didn't know how to cope with it. So I sat down with my wife, who is everything, and I just said to her, look, she goes, listen to this. She goes, you fail, you fail. You pass, you pass. Do it again. She goes, not everyone passes first time, and I've got a history of not doing exams well because of my dyslexia and my anxiety. And she goes, don't worry about it. She goes, just go in there, do the absolute best. She goes, what do you tell your daughter? And I went, fuck, I knew this was going to come back and throw in my face. I was like, why? And because what I tell my daughter is we have this little running joke in our house where we love professional wrestling as long as Bobby Munson. And I very much am a massive WWE fan. And we have this thing, scared the shit out of me, that did. We have this, that's all right. We have this thing in our household, and I go, what does John Cena say? And she will go, before she went into, this was when she was 3, where she was going into way before elementary school, all of that type of thing, when she was in that. And she's go, never give up. And I went, yes, that's exactly what I want you to do. During school, I want you to think about what John Cena says. Never give up. And now I go to her, what does John Cena, she goes, well, John Cena gave up. I went, yes, that's not the point, no. He's being bad at the moment. He'll go back good. And then we start laughing about it. But no, so the thing that I have to learn is practice what I preach. I'm very much I will help everyone else and give great advice, but then sometimes I need to go, what does John Cena say? Never give up. What does my tribal chief tell me? You have a tribe, your family, you do it together. That type of thing. That's what I need to learn. So my mental health is okay. I just need to get through. We're struggling for money and all that type of thing. But as I always go, we will always find a way through it. We always have. And we always will. So we don't need to panic, don't need to worry. We wake up, we do our best, we never give up, we go to sleep, and we repeat it again. And we try and help each other out along the way. So that's what we do in our household, and I try and do that day by day. But that was a good question. I was expecting that hard of a question, so fuck you, not doing these questions again.
Fair enough.
I like to be the one asking it. So, goals. Okay, I set my brother goals, and the goals were, I want him to get a journal. Because it worked for me, and I wanted him to try it because he was very well known. And what I wanted to do is every single day I wanted to write in this journal. And what I wanted him to do is write goals at the bottom of that page or that book and go, for tomorrow, I want to accomplish this, and this. And then I said to him, you don't have to do it in bed. If you're going for a shit, you sit on the toilet, you take that book with you, you sit on the crapper, and you look at it. Did I accomplish this, and this? And if I did, fucking great day. If I didn't, okay, why didn't I do that? And what can I do better tomorrow to try and get those goals done for me? So those are the type of goals that we got in. It was very much of him coming around this house and spending time as an uncle, because he hasn't done that as much, and talking a lot more to me on the phone. Which, by the way, this has been a week after the episode was recorded, and after seeing it, he's done majority of those things. The journal thing, he's been a tight ass because he needs to buy one, and he's not fucking buying one. But I said I'll fucking buy it when I can then, for him to do. So these are the goals that I like to set with some reoccurring guests, because I know you're coming back on. Yeah, you ain't got a choice in this. You're going to come back on later on in September, November time. I want you to come back on, and we want to go over things. What's been going on over the past certain amount of months, what we could do to help, how you're feeling, and that type of thing. So, what goals would you like to be set for yourself, or what things do you think that you need to do that we as a community can help you with, or there's certain things that we can do to help you, or what do you need to do yourself? Give us an idea of what you would like, and then I'll come up with a plan of what we can do.
Well, it's interesting you talk about what you're doing with your brother there too, with the setting goals, because I mean, for a long time, I always I set mini goals for myself. And once I get accomplished the mini goal, then I set the goal a step higher, kind of thing. So I take it in steps. I've always done that. More recently, I mean, I am bad for being not organized, like just poor organization to a T, and a lot of that is due to the mental health. Sometimes, like I get my own head. I've been trying to make a habit, and I need to do it more. Of every single day, I kind of go, what needs to get accomplished versus what can be accomplished if I don't have enough time and can be scooted over. And that's where I need to get into it more of. I'm only human. Not everything can all be done at once. Set that list of today. Okay, I got to get the yard work done. I got to get this done around the house. Okay, then we move on. I have to get this particular video edited, or I've got to be on stream because we have a set time to be on stream. Certain things where it's like, these are the musts, and then everything else is, I can move on to them and prioritize it. So I need to get in a habit of organizing it better. Maybe organizing my space a little better, because like sometimes I'm bad I'll make notes, paper notes, and then I throw those paper notes all over the place, and it's like, where the hell did they go? So I've been trying to get in the habit more of making notes on the computer, because I can't disorganize those notes. So
so I'm going to set you a goal, because I'm doing the same thing as what you said I've started doing. So what I'm doing is I've got a Google Sheets, and what I do is I have a tick box going down the left-hand side on the whole of that spreadsheet. And what I do is I write in what I need to do for videos throughout the week. How many I need to create, how many shorts I need to make, how many stuff I need to make on this day. On Wednesday, I need to do this. And then I can break it up into days. So I have a tick box for Monday, tick box for Tuesday. You can gather the rest for the rest of the week. And then what I do on a Sunday night, I will sit down and go, right, on Monday, I need to do this, and this. On Tuesday, this has to be accomplished by, because I need this, and this. And I do it throughout the week. And then each day, if there's something that pops up in my mind that I need to do later on that day, I'll just write it in that box and go, right, I need this done. And I need to do this by the end of the day, or I need to do it this, or remind myself to do that tomorrow. That type of thing. Now, I want you to do that. And what I want you to do as well is I want you to be present, because you're very right. And I'm going to have a dig at you here, and I do apologize for the dig is about to have. Okay. You sent a message into a Discord the other day talking about your struggles, saying, I'm sorry about certain things. Don't fucking apologize. I don't ever want to hear you say sorry. I know it's a Canadian and English thing to do.
It's a Canadian thing for sure.
We the English, apologize as well for a lot of things. So it's very much of that. But what I want you to do is I want you to be talking more to other people. I want you to talk to your wife, 100%. Talk to your wife, because she's the main one in your life. But I want you to not feel like you're being a burden So I want you to talk to more people different days. If you want to talk to me every day, well, you talk to me every day anyway. But if you want to talk to others as well, I want you to get into the habit of yourself of you are not a fucking burden. I know that you want to help other people, and you are, and I commend you for that. But remember, people are there to help you as well. So I want you to understand that, and those are the two things. If you're happy with those goals, we're going to set them. We're going to get. I will help you with the Google sheet. I will set it up for you. I will make it look razzle dazzle because it's me. You've seen the shit I do behind the scenes. It's fucking colourful. I will set that up for you. I will send that to you, and then that's yours. I won't ever look at that again because that's your stuff. And I want you to use that every day and think about how to get yourself organised. I need to clean this office today, or I need to clean the office on Saturday. I need to book some time. Me and the wife, I need to book a restaurant appointment for me and the wife. I need to buy flowers because I fucked up with something because I'm Bobby. Those type of things that you can write on there at certain points. So I will do that for you because I will help you, and then I will send it to you, and then I'm going to leave that with you. And then when you come back at the end of September, November, we're going to go through it. We're not going to look at it. We're going to go through it, how the goals are set, how you're feeling, if there's anything that needs to be done, and we'll have a little bit of chit chat about life. How does that sound?
Sounds brilliant. Love it.
Right, Bobby, I've kept you for about an hour and 20 something minutes. And yes, this doesn't get edited. So before we get going, I want you. I can't fucking find the right button now, can I? There it is, you twat. I want you to tell the people exactly who you are, where they can find you, not what you got coming up because this is quite far ahead. Of where they can find you, what sort of things you bring to the table.
All right. Anybody who wants to follow me, again, that ticker down below is going to take you to all my social media where, I'm fairly active across the board, especially with posting what I got coming up for different events and stuff like that. What I do, for those who aren't familiar, I work in a few different spaces. Of course, I help to do a lot of the production, and I run some of the shows on OLE podcasts here where you can catch myself and Mark on various shows, and of course other amazing people as well too. So I do a lot of the work on the background. I've become very in tune with trying to sort out YouTube, even though they keep trying to change the game on me and make it more difficult by the second, but I won't let them win. Or as we talked about here today, I will never give up. So take that, YouTube. You may try as you might. Aside from that, though, outside of this world, I also do pro wrestling. So I'm a part of Prairie Pro Wrestling. We do have a channel on YouTube as well, where you can find out the matches that we put together. I do commentary for it. I'm the one behind the scenes. I do a lot of the video work, video production. I've got a team that helps to video it. We edit it. We put it together. Not only that, but, I was there from day one helping to get the company started, get it off the ground. We've seen it grow. I'm part of the conversation when it comes to some of the things that we're up to and doing. I'm not on the booking team as some people like to try to imagine, but I'm an influence backstage sometimes. I'm a liaison of sorts. But we have a good time. It's a blast. It's a great community to be a part of. And aside from that, regularly I do have a shoot job on top of this all. I actually am, by the time this comes out, might even be under the title of sales manager, but I am in sales, commercial and industrial sales. I've got a strong background in security, communications products, things like that. The things that makes your internet work or keep you safe. That is what I expert in outside of doing the things you see me online for. But yes, that is me in a nutshell. Hopefully you check out my socials, check out the different various YouTube pages that I mentioned, and support and show love and support here for Mark and his stuff as well too.
These are down below is our local establishment who me and Bobby work with one of them that we do a lot of stuff. Me and him have a Sunday show where we chat shit about sports, and then every so often I will turn up and talk about WWE. That's basically it. But there is my ticker down below. You will also find my stuff in the description down below as well. Alongside that tick button that you can go like, there's also a bell that you can press and get instant notification for when one of these videos go live. So yes, we are a new YouTube channel. We're trying to get things going, and we've been taking up your time long enough. I'm not expecting you all to watch this in one sitting because it's nearly an hour and a half, and probably a little bit longer because I've edited stuff at the beginning, knowing me. But yes, Thank you guys ever so much for watching. We will be back next week with another Canadian. Andre C. He will be back, another friend of mine from our local establishment. And a week after that, there's a lady called Melball Collins, or Mel Collins. I just call her Melball, because we throw Instagram reels at each other 24 hours a day, 7 days. We don't actually have conversations anymore. The only conversations me and Mel have is through Instagram reels. That's basically our language of talking to each other at the moment. But she will be here next week with myself. Not next week, the week after for you. I think it's her. I really hope it's her, unless I've just thrown her on the spot. She might be here. Can't fucking remember. But we're Love with Care. My name's been Mark. You guys have been amazing. And I will see you guys very soon. Bye.